Have you been able to figure out who the mysterious character is that's on the intergalactic space card from UFO? Welcome back to Cryptid Theory, where we use the cards of Metazoo to tell the storyline and lore. My name is Turmentic, and today we are going to be looking at the Intergalactic Space Council card and trying to figure out who exactly that fifth member is. Now I'm going to do a brief overview of the four members that we do know of, and then go into the fifth and then exactly tell you why I think I know who that fifth one is. So let's get started. The first alien we're going to talk about is probably one of the most well-known aliens in the entire world, and that is the Greys. They are described as being human-like with small bodies, with smooth gray-colored skin, enlarged hairless heads, and large black eyes. The origins of the Greys goes back to the late 19th century. In 1917, occultist Aleister Crowley described a meeting with a creature similar to what the Greys looked like, using a process known as the Amalantra workings. This allowed humans to contact beings from outer space and across different dimensions. It wasn't until 1961, though, when Betty and Barney Hill claimed to have been abducted by the Greys, that they started to become recognizable and famous. Betty Hill, even under hypnosis, claimed to have drawn a map that displayed the home star system of the Greys, Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system. Now, the Greys are the representation of the aliens from UFO. Keep that in mind, we'll go through all of them. Well, the next one I want to talk about are the Dark Watchers. Now, the Dark Watchers, also known as Los Vigilantes Oscuros by early Spanish settlers, is the name given to a group of entities located near the San Lucia Mountains that observe travelers from a distance. Now, described as tall, sometimes giant-sized features, they are dark silhouettes, often wearing brimmed hats or having walking sticks. They are more often reported to be seen in the hours of pre-dawn or twilight. They are always motionless. They watch travelers from the horizon along the mountain range. According to legend, no one has ever seen one up close. If anyone approaches them, they disappear. Now, this is the alien representation from the set Nightfall. The next one I want to talk about are the Pascagoula aliens. First sighted in 1973 in Pascagoula, Mississippi, these beastie aliens became famous because of the apparent abduction of two men, Charles Hickinson and Calvin Parker. Hickinson described the creatures as being about 5 feet tall with a single leg that had a foot without toes. They appeared to have ears, nose, and a mouth, but none of the features appeared to be anything remotely human. It has been reported, though, that the Pascagoula aliens can appear in any form they think the abductee would perceive as being calm them down. And once aboard the ship, because they were abducted, the two men had test ran on them, but they were not harmed at all in any way. Others in the area reported seeing strange lights in the area, but no other people had actually been abducted. The Pascagoula aliens, this is the representation for wilderness. Now, the last one is probably one of the most well-known cryptids of all time, and that is the Flatwoods Monster, also known as Braxy. This alien beastie was first seen in Braxton County, West Virginia, September 12, 1952. The night the Flatwoods Monster was first seen, a bright green object was seen streaking across the sky. A group of friends saw the strange light and went to the nearby farm. When they approached the top of the hill that they had to climb up of, they saw a pulsating red light at the bottom. Then they saw a tall man-like figure with a round red face surrounded by a pointed hood-like shape. The group also said they smelled a pungent mist, which made them feel nauseated. Descriptions of the Flatwood Monsters vary, but the beastie alien's height is always consistent. This right here is the representation of Cryptid Nation, the first set that came out. Now, the one that I think is actually missing that's not really labeled, I believe that to be the Mince Pie Martian. Now, I'll give you a little bit of info about Mince Pie first before I go into the reasons why I think it's actually him. Now, January 4th, 1979, Jean Hingley saw a light on in her garden and thought she had left a light on. So she went to investigate, and she saw 3 white lights floating past her that went into her house. The creatures had wings and glowed with a bright light. They were wearing silvery green tunics with silver waistcoats. They had transparent fishbowl-style helmets over their heads, so she could see them, but they did not resemble anything human. They conversed with Jean, and she even gave them water and mince pies, one of the reasons they got their name at one point. Though she never saw them actually eat or drink, both of them actually disappeared. They told her, "We have been here before, we shall come again." Now, when Jean went to light a cigarette, the flame itself scared the mince pie Martians, and they fled. They went back to the backyard where an orange-colored glowing thing was there that appeared to be their ship. The creatures went into the ship, they flashed the lights twice, which apparently was them saying goodbye, and then they disappeared. The reason why I felt that this missing alien is the mince pie Martian is because each of the others is represented by a specific set. You have Cryptid Nation, you have Nightfall, Wilderness, and UFO. The next one missing, of course, would be Seance. We can rule out native being in it as all in any way too, because if you go and actually look, there are no alien beasties in the set native. Mince pie is the only one that actually makes any sort of sense. The helmet is very similar, in my opinion, from Mince Pie and that card. The reason why I think that the costume looks a little different from the Mince Pie Martian card and this is because this looks to be a very formal event. If you look at the other beasties that are there, each of them are wearing an elaborate cape or some sort of garment that actually shows that this is a very serious procedure. I mean, this is Sam actually in front of the Intergalactic Space Council. The cape that also it looks like that the alien is actually wearing could potentially be the wings as well, folded up behind it, because they didn't want they needed to sit down in the chair and they needed to look official. Again, we don't know, this is a very formal event, so the appearance of these beasties might change a little bit. Now, Mince Pie also, in my opinion, fits with the rest of the beastie aliens that are seen on this council. The first four that I mentioned didn't really harm humans. Flatwoods might be the closest thing just because of the pungent mist that it gave off that was semi-poisonous. That's why Flatwoods actually has some sort of poisonous lore with it. But most of them just studied humans. Even Pascagoula, when they abducted those two men, they just tested them. They didn't actually do anything to harm them. Same thing with the Mince Pie Martians. They did not harm Gene. They just seemed benevolent to me, which makes sense that they would want to be on this council of aliens. Now, looking at the Intergalactic Space Council card itself, it's very interesting. Flatwoods already seems to have voted against Sam. That's what the red line across going to Sam actually looks like to me. The Greys and Pascagoula aliens might have voted in favor or might have voted to abstain. Not entirely sure, but you can tell that there is definitely a different colored line going from them to Sam as well. Now, the Dark Watchers and Mince Pie, it appears not to have voted at all. So it's interesting when you actually start looking at that Flatwoods has already condemned humans, have already condemned Sam, if you will. And it looks like I said that the Greys and Pascagoula aliens, the ones again who actually ran tests and examined humans, abducted them. They're the ones that have either abstained or have voted to actually save humans. So the real question is, why exactly are they even meeting? Well, I theorized that with the veil in place, alien beasties could only visit Earth periodically and for a very short time. That's why most alien abductions were very short. That's why you only saw ships zipping across the sky. It was them going in and out of the veil very quickly. They couldn't sustain themselves with the veil in place. I've said it before, I feel like the veil actually separated us from magic, and that magic could have included the rest of the universe out there. I believe that these alien beasties are very capable casters. And M's ability, if you actually look at M's ability from the Seance theme deck, it actually creates an entirely new arena that can't be touched. And I feel that that's very similar to how the Veil actually operated, was that it put us in a position to where we could barely be observed. They could barely come into our plane of existence. And once that veil was actually broken, it allowed them to actually start coming back into our airspace. Even after the shattering of the veil, though, it still took them a while to actually get here. And I think one of the reasons why it sped up specifically, we start seeing all of these different alien beasties with the set UFO, is because of the planetary alignment. And like I've said before, I believe that planetary alignment was drawing something to Earth, whether it was the Majestic 12 or it were these aliens themselves, or if it was some sort of entity that wanted to come in order to break the second seal that I talked about, that I think that Scratch was captured in. That's the whole point of Seance. So for whatever reason, this was the first time in almost 1,000 years, I want to say, that not only was the veil shattered, but the planetary alignment allowed these alien beasties to get to Earth quickly. Remember, I've also talked about before how I think that humans are nothing more than just beasties. We just are beasties that have the potential to use different types of magic. And I don't think, honestly, that these alien beasties are any different. I still think them to be casters that are able to manipulate magic. Maybe only cosmic aura magic, but still formidable casters themselves. The reason why I bring this up, though, is that at the Topps battle card, it actually shows Love fighting the Flatwoods monster. Now, this is different in my opinion than Orange Eyes, because Orange Eyes was a beastie caster. He was actually a beastie, I think, that was under contract to start casting. This is interesting because, remember, Love cannot attack another beastie because of the curse that is actually on him. So if he is able to actually attack Flatwood's monster, then that means that Flatwood's monster is a different type of beastie caster. It's a different type of caster. I would say that that would mean that Flatwood's is more similar to humans than it would be to a normal random cryptid that you would actually find. To me, that's significant because that actually puts potential beastie aliens, or aliens if you want to call them that instead, not to get confusing, in the potential to where they could be an evergreen level caster. And that's something that we haven't really considered before, because we've always considered aliens as beasties. But again, if humans are beasties that just have the ability to cast magic, that there's no difference between the Greys and Flatwood's monster, Pascagoula aliens, humans. There's no real difference between them. And it's significant, in my opinion, to bring this up because, again, remember, according to the illustration of the Intergalactic Space Council card, it looks like Flatwoods voted against humans, which would mean that Flatwoods, in essence, is an enemy to Love, an enemy to Sam, an enemy to humans, and that is something I thought that was worth pointing out. Now, this brings us to our next question. Does that mean that Flatwood's monster is actually working with the Men in Black who are in that picture and Indrid Gold? Well, that's going to be another theory for another time. So, to recap, I believe that the fifth member that was mysterious on the Intergalactic Space Council card to be the Mince Pie Martian, based off of it being really the only real viable option inside of Seance, and there being no alien beasties in the native set. But again, my name is Turmentic. Thank you so much for checking out this theory video. Make sure to subscribe and like this video. I'm going to start jumping back in the lore, pumping out a lot more, and I'm slowly working on the timeline video that should be out here soon. But again, thank you so much for all the support. You all are amazing, and I hope you have a wonderful day.